This week, let's make a colorful palette. Now that you've used the trichrome palette, it's time to make your own. We'll make a palette of the basic colors you'll find in any painting or drawing app or real media set. So we're going to go to the palettes over here. Now you'll notice I'm using my Apple Pencil for this, so you can see what I'm doing, but it works the same for fingers. We're going to tap the plus in the upper right, and we're going to create a new palette to make the new palette. And we get an untitled palette here. And I can tap on the name here, and I can change this to, let's call it basic. So I'll call it basic colors. Done. Now usually I could tap the three dots here, and I could set it as default. Now it's already default, as you can see by the check mark here, so I don't need to do that. If it was going to do that, you'll see it over here on the warm cool colors. You'll see set as default, and you can make this one default by just setting it set as default. We want this one to be default so that we can move around on some of these other versions of the palette as we're working. I'm colorblind, and I want to be as accurate as possible with the colors I choose. The best way to get accuracy is to use the sliders under value. So I'm going to click on value. There are three ways you can enter colors numerically. On top is the hue, saturation, and brightness. You do the same as the classic and the disc selections with these sliders. We'll use the RGB sliders for making our palette. So I'm going to go back over here to value, and you'll see the RGB sliders. These are a lot easier to understand what we're doing. On your iPad, Mac, or any flat screen device, there are three primary colors, red, green, and blue. Every pixel in your device has all three light sources projecting out. A combination of them gives the illusion of a colored pixel. We can change these sliders to create those combinations. Now the first color you're going to need is white. So I'm going to slide the red, the green, and the blue all the way over, and we get white, as you can see up on the top here. All three colors at the brightest make white. As a side note, notice the hexadecimal. This is a special number in base 16. 2 digits of base 16 go from 0 to 255. As you notice next to the RGB sliders, there's a 255. The hexadecimal number is made of 2 digits of red, 2 digits of blue, and 2 digits of green. While I don't need to know hexadecimal numbers, it's a fast description of colors often used in web and application design. Watch that number change as we make colors. Okay, on the blank palette now, we're going to tap the upper right corner. The current color appears. You add colors in your palette by tapping on a blank space in the palette. I'm keeping this palette simple, so tap the two squares below the first to make a white stripe. Now move the three sliders back to 0. Now this is a little challenging if you're using a pencil, so let's see if I can get it right. Sometimes if you do it wrong, you'll get a line like that. That's what's known as the scribble bug. You have to be really careful, or this is the one place where I tend to use my fingers when I'm moving sliders. Anything that's too close to a text field can cause problems, so be aware of that if you're using the pencil. And now we have black. No light is black. Tap the three squares next to the white stripe to make a black stripe. I'm going to copy the warm and cool colors for this palette. So I'm going to tap palettes here. Tap the cool lighter tone. Now edit the basic colors as a stripe like we did with white and black. Now do the same thing for the warm color. These colors are good for basic sketching, and darkening the rest of the colors will add. So let's go back to value now. Pull the red slider to 255, and the green and blue should be back down to 0. This is pure red. Red, green, and blue are called primary colors. In the first box, add a red stripe. If I add all green to my all red, I get yellow. And I'm going to add a yellow stripe. Now, you remember luminosity from a few lessons ago? This is why it happens. You have two full colors projecting out of your iPad. The colors using two colors in full are known as the secondary colors on your iPad. Now go ahead and try to pull that red one back to 0. You get green, which is another primary color. Add that stripe. Now add all blue. That gets you the secondary color, cyan. I'll add that stripe. Those with red-green color blindness often have a difficult time seeing cyan. Often it appears white or off-white. I don't use it much except to mix greens or blue-greens. Pull the green back to 0 and we get blue. Now add that stripe. Finally, move red to full color. That's magenta. And again, add that stripe. These are your basic colors. If you were to buy a basic set of pencils, pastels, watercolor, or acrylic paint, it's likely they would be these colors. What we do with these colors is mix them to make more colors. So for a challenge this week, I just want you to make this palette. If you want, you can try making other palettes as well of other colors, and you can play around with the sliders a little bit and see what you can come up with. Now, we've created a new palette we can use to create any color. In our next lesson, we'll use the pastel brush to test out the colors and mix them to make more colors using a pastel brush. So be sure to hit subscribe to not miss a lesson.